Something I've always thought would be an interesting concept in Geometry Dash is a sort of big quiz type challenge. With a few creative rounds and a little bit of work, you can take the given knowledge in the community and do some insanely interesting things with it. That's what I did today. I took many of the things I have learned about both the dynamic of this game and the community, and I created a 5-round quiz of Geometry Dash. When considering how to publish this on YouTube, I couldn't think of any way to actually turn it into a contest without creating an exponential amount of work and marking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the questions from each round up, then talk you through the answers. There are varying degrees of difficulty, from fairly standard, common knowledge questions to some extremely difficult puzzles to solve. The total mark is out of 50, so if you want to play along, feel free, and try not to cheat I guess, as I put the questions up and then go through each answer to each question and the evidence for some of the trickier ones. I created 5 rounds, each with a total available score of 10. We have multiple choice, spot the connection, true or false, GD anagrams, and finally a GD wall, which I will explain at the end. The first round is fairly easy, it's multiple choice. There are 10 questions, all with 4 possible answers, just like in game shows such as Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So without further delay, let's get into the quiz. The multiple choice questions vary in difficulty in this round, so don't expect to get every single one right. I'll display all 10 questions in order, then talk through the answers. I wish you the best of luck. Okay, so let's look at the answers. Now, the first question was asking which of these 4 levels had never been in the top 10. The correct answer is D, Madhouse by Green and others. You may have worked out that it wasn't Creeperfall, which was once a top 10 demon, even when Serve beat it back when he beat the top 10. Photovoltaic by Mazel was initially added at number 9 on the demons list, one place above Necropolis, which was 10th place at the time. It may surprise you that Landek was actually a top 10 demon, but this is because it was released very early on in 2.0, and so it instantly became one of 2.0's hardest challenges. Madhouse is the only exception, so it is the correct answer. Question 2 was about who the first player to beat Deadly Clubstep was. It was of course B, Riot. Neptune doesn't count because he hacked the level, and Alex Payne beat the level quite a long time after Riot, and while Aeon Air was close, it was Riot that won the race. Question 3 asks for the ID of the first star rated level, and it is A, 146. If you type 146 in on the GD server, you'll see the level Chill Out by Darnock. This is the first star rated level ever, or at least one that remains. If you haven't played this, I would advise doing so because it's basically 3 stars nowadays. Question 4 asks for the most popular song in custom levels. It is of course Supernova, with over 70 rated or featured levels that it appears in. Question 5 is asking for the name of a level that isn't a rebirth of a demon level. This is actually a trick question I included, as they are all rebirth names, but the odd one out is the Apocalyptic Trilogy. This is a rebirth of 3 demon levels instead of 1, or you can count it as a rebirth of 1 level, being After Catabath, but it still doesn't count as After Catabath is not rated. Question 6 asks for which one of the following levels is not a sequel. This is a much easier question than the rest, and it is clearly C, as Retention does not precede any level, whereas the other 3 do. Catastrophic, if you're wondering, is a continuation of Problematic, one of the easiest 9 Circles demons. I know this is very much opinion based as to if you count it a sequel or not, but regardless, Retention still should have stuck out as the easy answer there. Number 7 is asking which of the lesser known Hell series levels was not made by Son. The answer is the Hell Legacy, which was a Hell level made by a person pretending to be Son. Obviously, we know the Hell Origin is a Son level. As for the Hell Inferno and Hell Field, Well, they were hell levels that Son started but never finished. A similar question heads up at number 8. Which of the following levels was not made by a Spectro? It is D, Magnix, and a Spectro-inspired level by SCP Lands. For those of you who put Zeltrion, Zeltrion is a challenge level by a Spectro that was actually meant to be a Spectro's part in a collab that never came off, but it's now published on his account. Question 9 is a very easy one. 9 Circles is the third most liked level ever behind the Nightmare and the Lightning Road, so it is head and shoulders above the rest in terms of likes. The final question is another fairly easy one from If You Know Your Mega Collabs. It's C, Supersonic. Woogie was never part of the original Sonic series team with Xanthic Alpha, but there is a sort of trap in this question, as he is a much lesser known participant of Yatagarasu. But here is his part. And with all that done, that marks up the end of the first round. The answers are being displayed on screen now, so well done if you got them all right. Let's move on to the next round, which is slightly harder. Spot the connection. Okay, so for this round I'm going to display 4 things related to GD on the screen. All you have to do is find the thing that links them. So if I was to say Poltergeist, Crimson Clutter, Head Rush and Fairy Dust, the answer would be 9 Circles levels. It's that simple. The only thing is that none of them will be that easy in this round. Are you ready? I'll display them all now. So how did you do? Some of them were quite tough. Let's go through the answers and see. First off, we had a levels question. We've got Kurumi City, the Hell Factory, Entwined Room and Artificial Ideology. You may have noticed that these were all collab levels, but I wanted something more specific. Specifically, they are all levels made by Korean players. Artificial Ideology and the Hell Factory are Korean creating team Team N2's levels, and Entwined Room and Kurumi City are both levels made by similar teams with some expansions. Question 2 was another levels question. If you know the creator of each, you may have been able to guess that they were all levels made by Peneta. Question 3 was not hugely difficult if you pictured the given levels in mind. All 4 of them used the theme At the Speed of Light by Dimmarine47. Some of the newer community people may not have known a theme for Nitronic Chaos, but if you keep up to date with your silent levels, as well as your standard top 50 levels, you will have known that all 3 other levels have the same theme. Question 4 is a pretty tough one. Your only clues are likely to be Plasma Pulse 3 and Light Years together. If you know who hosted Light Years, then you may know that these are all levels that were verified by Smokes, a Spanish 60Hz player. Silhouette would have been the hardest one to figure out from those, but even that classic 9 Circles level was verified by the Spanish player. Number 5 isn't too hard, especially for someone like me. They are all players from the UK. Brandon Larkin, Creepy Dash and Akan are all English, while Andromeda is Scottish. Question 6 is one of my favourites. What links Male Veronica, Wabbit, Wabusha and Mifui? Well, they were all once friends, but what I was going for is that they were all members of the original Queer group. Back in August last year, when a mysterious new Korean legend Queer emerged, it was leaked that it was actually a group of 144Hz players working together to create an image of the perfect player. Male, Wabusha, Wabbit and Mifui were all involved. Question 7 is another easy one. Happy End, Hatred, Freedom Dive and 2-on-1 are all levels that were started or verified by Sagayesta. Question 8 is kind of a difficult one in finding the specific link, but all 4 of these players verified a current top 10 demon. Bold Step verified Erebus, Stormfly verified the Hell World, Combined verified Artificial Ascent as Subsonic, and Truster of course verified Yatagarasu and Sakupen Hell. Number 9 is another tricky one. You may have noticed High Life in the mix and realised that it had something to do with Low Death, but you may have also noticed that River Styx only remains relevant through rebirths, and that may have led you to work out that all 4 of these levels had planned rebirths, sequels or continuations, but more specifically continuations that died. Low Death Necropolix, River Twigs, and Sonic Wave Rebirth / Auditory Breaker are all dead levels. This was a pretty hard one, but it was fairly broad in answer range. Plus, all 4 of these levels were recently featured on Geometry Dash Galath's top 10 on dead levels. Question 10 was a nasty one. What do Wabusha, the Hell Factory, Ruin Journey, and Silhouette have in common? It isn't actually that Wabusha has beaten them all, but it's actually more of a trick question. It actually is, all 4 entities have appeared in this round, so in other questions. I thought I'd throw that in to confuse you all. At the end of that round, I doubt anyone is still on 100%, but I wonder how you all fared after round 2. You'll be pleased to know that round 3 is much easier. It's the true or false round. Round 3 is probably the easiest round of the quiz, being a 50-50 chance with every question. However, because it is so easy, I included a lot of traps and trick questions here, so be sure to be very specific and careful with the wording of the statement. Best of luck to you all. So some of those were probably fairly easy for you, but some of them did have tricky wording. Let's have a look. Question 1 wasn't a trick question, but if you have seen the very first preview on G-Boy's channel, then you would know that it's true. Infernal Abyss's original theme was meant to be Flawless Wings of Yatagarasu. Question 2 is fairly common knowledge now, as long as you remember that Cyclic's beating is no longer considered legitimate, leaving Gyron David to be the first legitimate victor of Cataclysm, making it true. Question 3 is one that you will know is false if you know your GD science. Noctafly used Magosti's FPS bypass, meaning his 60Hz Bloodbath victory wasn't officially 60Hz. Nobody yet still has beaten Bloodbath with 60Hz. Super X was outed to have not been using 60Hz at the time when he claimed to have beaten it. Question 4 is false, of course. The first effect level was indeed by Funny Game, but it was actually Funny Game Holiday several updates before, not Revolution. Question 5 looks super easy, right? False. Blade of Justice is by Mannix and Laserblades. Well, it's actually true. Noble Boy built the sword that is used 3 or 4 times throughout the level, including at the end, so technically he did build a part in Blade of Justice, as he invested a few thousand objects in level art. Question 6 is another trick question. It's false. It was Cyrillic who leaked the level while pretending to be Cyclic. Question 7 is fairly straightforward. It's false. Flub is the fastest growing GD channel of 2017, growing just over 80,000 subs since January. Question 8 is another trick question. It's false. While all 3 levels are Noble Boy levels, both Crying Souls and Dark Rainbow Rebirth were verified by a third party, so obviously, as I've said earlier, be careful with the wording of a question. Question 9 is an easy one, and it's true. And finally, question 10 is another sciencey GD question. It's true. The realistic was actually built from a copyable of Fairy Dust. Softable removed the buffer sequence and moved some of the diamonds around and changed the neon wave colours, but yes, the realistic began life as a Fairy Dust copy. So at the end of that round you hopefully will have had some easy gains on some of the easier questions, and I'm hoping you all could have picked up at least 5 out of 10 on that one. The next round is probably the hardest round of the entire quiz. It's the anagrams round. So this round is incredibly difficult. Basically, I'm going to show you 5 long anagrams composed of 4 random words. Each one rearranges to make 4 words related to GD. Then, like in round 2, for an extra point each, you have to identify the link between them. The links aren't that hard this time, but solving the anagrams certainly will be. Here are all 5. I wish you the best of luck. So, did you find this round hard? I did too when making it, especially as I had to create all of the anagrams off the top of my head. Let's break down each one and find out how to do it. Question 1 saw some quite long anagrams. The first two I would never be able to solve, but the fourth word for me was enough of a giveaway that you may have been able to work out that it said subsonic. Knowing that the rest would be linked, you may have been able to work out from the Y in word number 3 that word number 3 was hypersonic. Then, by deduction, that you can work out that the first two words are supersonic and ultrasonic. And what do all four of these have in common? They are all levels in the sonic series. Moving on, question 2 looks a bit puzzling at first, but it's actually quite easy. Word 4 is not very scrambled, and you can probably instantly recognise the word as head rush. With 9 circles levels in mind, you may be able to spot that the two short ones in the middle decipher to figures and classic. Word 1 translates to silhouette, and you're left with 4 levels from the 9 circles series. Anagram 3 is slightly harder, but the first two words are quite short. You may have worked out that the first two translate to cosine and woogie, being that they're quite short words. Knowing that these are both Korean players, 3 becomes instantly obvious. It's Koreaqua. Word 4 is slightly out of place with the rest. It's partition, who is a Geometry Dash Korean YouTuber for his content rather than his playing. With those 4, you realise that you have 4 Korean players for the link. Anagram 4 is very easy. 3 of the 4 words are incredibly easy to get. Both word 1 and word 3 have 4 letters and are instantly rearranged to flub and riot. Word 2 is slightly harder, but thanks to the positioning of the U and the X, you instinctively realise that it's Tosh Deluxe. No real giveaway to the link with these 3, and the fourth word is slightly harder. Klotros rearranges to Souls TRK. If you can't work out the link, they are all channels with over 100,000 subscribers. Finally, we are left with Anagram 5. This is probably the second hardest one, but some of you may notice that Trolux translates to extra law. With extra law being involved, it's likely that these words have something to do with musicians. With this knowledge, it's likely that word number 3 translates to water flame. We now know that the other two will be DJs. The K in word 2 may give it away that it's Night Killer. And finally, the fourth word is slightly harder given the illogical rearrangement, but word 4 is translated to boss fight. The link here is obviously that they are Newgrounds DJs. At the end of that round, 10 more points were available, but you'd be forgiven for not scoring well there, as there were some really hard ones. Now we move on to the final round, the wall. Round 5 is pretty tricky, but maybe less so than round 4. Round 5 is called the wall, and it's basically round 2 and round 4 combined, but without the anagrams. Basically, here is a grid of 20 terms to do with Geometry Dash, randomly arranged. For 5 points, you need to arrange these 20 terms into 5 groups of 4, and for an extra 5 points, you have to work out the link between them. However, this round is not as clear-cut as the others. Finding the links between the 4 terms in each group is trickier than it was with the anagrams, but slightly easier than it was in round 2. But the trick is, there is more than just one way that these terms can be grouped. Some of the terms link up in other ways, which I'll go over later. I wish you the best of luck. See if you can make all 5 groups. So, how did you all find that? Some of the groups were hard to determine, but there were a few methods you could have applied to go about it. Let's start with the completely unarranged wall. What do we do here? Well, you could start by dividing the terms into players and levels. If we do this, we are left with 12 levels and 8 players. So there are clearly 2 groups of players. So let's have a look at the players. We have Sari, Majako, Cyclic, Funny Game, Noctafly, Blast CFB, KevTom and Sunix. For me, there is a very easy group to spot here. Sari, Cyclic, Majako and Funny Game are all Korean players, and all were at their career peaks around the relatively similar era of 1.9. So now, all we have to do is find the link. Well, you could say Korean players, but this isn't exactly what I was after. While all of them are Korean, they have all also featured in the Legend series. Cyclic, Sari and Funny Game were some of my earliest documentaries, while Majako was a more recent addition. Blast CFB has also featured, of course, but he would be a little bit out of place with the rest of this Korean group. The 4 players we are left with are Sunix, KevTom, Noctafly and Blast, which obviously makes a group, so we get a point for that, but what is the link? Well, if we think in terms of achievements, all 4 have beaten Sonic Wave, But also, all 4 have beaten Yatagarasu, and this is the key. Currently, these players are the only 4 players that have beaten both Yatagarasu and Sonic Wave together. You may have got the group by process of elimination, but you may not have got the link, unfortunately. 2 groups down, we have 3 to go, and we now have 12 levels, and you can obviously arrange them into 3 groups. First off, let's start by grouping by list position. Phobos and Sakup and Hell used to be quite close together in the list, being places 2 and 3, as did a Bizarre Phantasm and Conical Depression, being places 2 and 3. Bloodbath and Athanatos did too, being places 1 and 2, and Aftermath and Allegiance weren't far away. Black Blizzard and the Hell World are the same, leaving Necropolix and Necropolis. There is a key here in itself. These 2 weren't ever on the list together, but what unites them? Well, let's think of the styles of demons. They are both timing demons, and this could be the potential link. So let's keep timing demons in mind, and if we reapply this to the rest, we find that the Hell World and Black Blizzard are both timing demons too. So if we group those 4 together, we get our third group, timing demons. Now we're left with 8 rated levels in 4 groups of 2 by list position. Now what looks correct here? Well, A Bizarre Phantasm, Conical Depression, Sakup and Hell and Phobos could all go together as they are in the same sort of relevant period back in 2016. But what links them? Well, think about where they were when they were added to the list. ABP was added just after it was rated 1 place behind Bloodbath, and the same happened with Conical Depression a month later. Later on in 2016, both Phobos and Sakup and Hell were added to the list 1 place behind Bloodbath each. So we have found our link here. All 4 of these demons were added to the list as second place. You could say that they came second to Bloodbath, but you reached the same eventuality. So that's our 4th group. By process of elimination, Allegiance, Aftermath, Athanatos and Bloodbath go together. So now we have the wall solved, but we're still missing 1 group's link. What joins the bottom 4? You could say alphabetical order, but you'd be wrong as that only makes a group of 3, plus it excludes A Bizarre Phantasm and Black Blizzard, which could both go with the alphabetical order too. So what groups these particular 4 together? Well, you'd be very smart if you got this, but they all had updates to the level cancelled. Allegiance obviously had buffed unnerfed Allegiance cancelled, which got dropped by N level. Bloodbath had Buff Bath, which was instantly dropped. Athanatos had an unnerfed update planned, but Aurorus was outed as a hacker before it could be verified, and Aftermath had an update planned from Xenity on his channel, but it never came off in favour of developing a buffed and extended Aftermath version that Serb was rumoured to be verifying. All updates though have now fell by the wayside. So with those 5 groups we have 10 points secured. How did you all do? I know a couple of groups would have been hard to link, but with a bit of patience it wouldn't have been too hard to get 2 or 3 groups together at least. As I said earlier, there are other connections. A Bizarre Phantasm, Allegiance, Athanatos and Aftermath were all levels beginning with A. The original of Group 2 demons could have also been classified as former top 10 demons, as they all began life in the top 10. And the same could be said for a new group, being the Hell World, Black Blizzard, Bloodbath and Athanatos. Then there are a few groups of 3 I found. Just like in round 2, A Bizarre Phantasm, the Hell World and Necropolis were all Korean-made levels. Conical Depression, Phobos and Black Blizzard are all Crazy Man levels, and Sakup and Hell, Bloodbath and Athanatos are all demons that held the number 1 spot for a time. Then there are a few others like that. So that was my big GD quiz I've been working on, and I thank you very much for playing along. I hope you enjoyed it. If you take your score and double it, you will get your percentage out of 100. I doubt very much that anyone will have got 80 or above, and those who got 60 or above are very impressive. It wasn't too hard to get half marks as each round had some easy questions and some easy gains, but I'd imagine the average score to be anywhere between 20 to 40% as this was an exceptionally hard quiz. As I said earlier, thanks for playing along. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up as it took a really long time to write, plan, make and make coherent. So if you could leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel if you're new, I would really appreciate it. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you all soon.